PG and Research Department of Botany, STAR Scholar Scheme, Management and Staff. I wholeheartedly welcome you all for the international webinar on climate change and future challenges. Is the key that unlocks all the storehouse of God's unlimited grace and power, says Story. Let's begin this day with a silent prayer.
So should we start now?
Sir, 1 minute.
Sir, we have a formal welcome, sir. Okay.
Dear participants, kindly turn on the videos for the group photo with the resource person. Dear participants, kindly turn on the video for the group photo with the resource person. Dilemma, we can proceed. Okay. May I now request Dr. Mary Shanti, Assistant Professor of Botany, St. Mary's College, Autonomous Thoothukudi, to render a cordial welcome and to introduce the resource person to this virtual gathering.
It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Sanjeev Maharia, Postdoctoral Fellow at Department of Chemistry, KBC Kuset, Linnaeus Park, Umeå University, Umeå, Sweden. Dr. Maharia completed PhD from University of Campania, Luigi Vanvitelli, Italy. His research focuses on development of algal biofactory for various industrial applications in nutraceutical, pharmaceutical, and cosmeceutical sectors. Research expertise of Dr. Maharia includes production of value-added chemical for formulation of functional food, agro-industrial waste-based resource recovery. He has made an excellent research collaboration links with policymakers, industries, and prominent RTD institutes in the field of bio-based economy. He has gained research experience from different international research establishments, including CSIR, IGIB India, Konkan University South Korea, ENIA Italian National Agency for New Technologies Italy, Hong Kong Baptist University Hong Kong, Central University of Rajasthan India, Sapienza University of Rome Italy. He has demonstrated excellent scientific and technical expertise by experimental work as well as scientific writing, which are reflected by his publication record. He had published more than 60 peer-reviewed publications in high impact factor journals, including peer-reviewed book chapters. Additionally, he is editing a special issue on microalgae biorefinery for bioproducts as leading guest editor for International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. Also, he is writing an edited book on algal biorefineries and the circular bioeconomy for CRC Press, USC. We are privileged to have such a dynamic person amidst us today. We welcome you, dear sir. It's my pleasure also to welcome all the faculty members from different institutions and the participants from abroad too. A special warm welcome to one and all. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mary Shanti, for your graceful welcome. It is my proud privilege to invite Professor Dr. Sanjeev Maharia to address the audience on the topic, Algal Biorefinery, Promising Approach for Minimizing Carbon Footprint. Over to you, sir.
So thank you very much for a kind of invitation and for a nice introduction. So I would like to welcome all of the audience, and also thanks to the organizer for the wonderful event. So here I am going to present my research work that I have working in different part of the world, and currently I am working, as mentioned by in the introduction, that I am working on algal biorefinery for development of various valued compounds from the microalgae. So just I am sharing my screen. I think, let me know if you are visible to my screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so thanks. And just I'm going to talk about the algal biorefinery, a promising approach for minimizing the carbon footprints. As we know that the global carbon emission increasing year by year, and also here we can see that in the 2020 there is a, due to the COVID lockdown around the world, we could see that there is a huge decrease in the carbon emission. While we are, as being a researcher in this field of the biotechnology, we are trying to bring some alternative clean approach to fix this carbon dioxide into value-added compounds. So coming to globally, as we know that India also contributing huge amount of the carbon dioxide into the environment, and India is a third largest CO2 emitter country around the world. And so therefore we have to bring some solutions, and we found that the algae can be a possible solution to capture this atmospheric carbon dioxide and turned into value-added compounds. So especially microalgae able to fix up to 50% higher as compared to terrestrial crops or plants to fix the carbon dioxide. And also around 1 kg of dry algal biomass can fix around 1.83 kg of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So we found that the algae could be a promising candidate to fix this atmospheric carbon dioxide into value-added compounds. And in the same time, microalgae produce several bioactive compounds that have different application in various sectors, including food sector, nutraceutical, pharmaceutical, and so on. So our theme is on the grow the microalgae using the carbon dioxide coming from the fuel gas from the atmosphere, and also we can use different type of wastewater, that wastewater or seawater or fresh water. So in the same time, microalgae delivers several possible advantage to clean the environment from different type of pollutants, including from water pollutions, from air pollution, and so on. So we are using different microalgal strains, and based on the climatic conditions, or like as I am working in now Sweden, there is a climatic condition is very harsh now, is a minus 10-20 degree temperature going on, and the light is very limited. So we are working there with the Arctic strains. They can grow in the lower temperature and also can survive without light. So in the Arctic region in the north of Europe, like where I am working now, there is a light in the after November to Feb, there is no light in the day. After like Feb, there will be light in the day. Like day-night cycle is very different there as compared to our India. So we are working there with the different algal, Nordic algal strains to cultivate them and to produce several bioactive compounds. So we are using different strains and growing them with the carbon dioxide coming from the fuel gas, and also we are growing them in the seawater and wastewater to produce the biomass, and that we explore that biomass in different sectors based on the source of the growth of microalgae. If we are growing the microalgae in the wastewater, then we use for the biofuel production. If we are using the seawater to grow the microalgae, then we use the biomass for different industrial applications, including nutraceuticals and so on. So in the same time, microalgae also, after the growth, they clean the water, and the CO2 also turned into the value-added compounds. So our aim is to develop a biorefinery approach to fix the carbon dioxide coming from the atmosphere, and then we have harvest the biomass, and the biomass have potential application in food unit, nutraceutical, and cosmetics. While in the same time, we capture the carbon dioxide, and then we analyze the market demand of these compounds. While after the microalgae growth, there will be a huge amount of the water that we also recycle for the again grow the microalgae in the same water with the additional supplementation of the nutrients or so on. So my framework of our research working with the 4 different scopes, that is firstly the bioprospecting of Nordic microalgae for various valued compounds, then CO2 sequestration, then scope 3rd is a water recycling, that we also trying to minimize the water requirement during the cultivation of microalgae. And then in scope 4, we are trying to explore these algal biomass in different sectors, including cosmetic, food, and and also with the nutraceutical and so on. So here we are having the prototype in the lab, and we use the different concentration of the carbon dioxide coming from fuel gas and also the pure carbon dioxide mixed with the air. So here in the lab, we optimize the condition with the optimum conditions that we can enlarge at the large scale, because going on the field or doing the experiment in the open place is difficult to get the repeatable results. So we are maintaining the condition in the lab, then we are trying to bring them in the large scale. So these kind of the photobioreactors was fabricated in our group as per our requirement. So these photobioreactors having different light illumination, that here you can see that they have a white light is now working, but is also containing red light, blue light, and they having different volume to surface ratio as well as working capacity. While we can monitor the process like including temperature, pH, CO2 flow rate, and so on using the remotely system. So there is no need to be with always with the fermenter or with the photobioreactor. So we can monitor the process remotely also. And after the bench scale optimization in the lab, we demonstrate these same conditions at large scale for the pilot scale cultivation of microalgae. So we are working with the different microalgae. So firstly, we are screening different Nordic strains for production of high valued compounds. And then we are found that there is a different microalgae, they have potential to produce various valued compounds such as lutein and astaxanthin, and these both compounds are produced by different microalgae. So for lutein, Sandesmus elmaricis is well known for lutein production. So we are trying to improve the lutein productivity, while Haematococcus pulmonalis is known for astaxanthin production. So these both compounds have high market demand in the nutraceutical and pharmaceutical sector due to the for several health benefits. And also then we optimizing different operational parameters to grow the microalgae to improve the biomass production as well as high valued compounds. And we also trying to achieve the nutrient recycling as well recycling after the growth of microalgae. And then we compare the results with the small scale to large scale, and as well as also we also evaluate the effect of different light intensity on the Haematococcus pulmonalis for astaxanthin production. So firstly, we, as I mentioned, that we are screening various Nordic microalgae strains that can grow in the lower temperature. So we found that Sandesmus elmaricis and Haematococcus pulmonalis could be a good potential candidate for the lutein production as well as for astaxanthin production, because these compounds having high market demand due to various bioactive activity such as antioxidant activity, protection from UV rays, or protection against the skin cancer, anti-inflammatory, and so on. While the market demand of these compounds increasing year by year, and the market demand is increasing with the compound annual growth rate of around 10% for both compounds, and is projected that it will be rising year by year. So here we are trying to maximize the productivity of these compounds from these two microalgae strains that are able to grow in the lower temperature in the Nordic region. So we are growing the microalgae in the lab and optimize the conditions. So we monitor the growth phase, and after the growth phase, we harvest the biomass using the membrane technology. And after the biomass harvesting, we found that with the membrane technology, we can harvest a complete biomass. And here you can see that this is a growth medium in the first measuring cylinder that is very clear, and this is the growth medium, while this is a filtrate after the growth of microalgae. So both are comparable. And we found that we can efficiently harvest the microalgae, and we also then access the nutrient availability in the filtrate for secondary growth of microalgae. While after the harvesting of biomass, we dry the biomass using the lyophilizer, and then we further process the biomass for extraction of the bioactive compounds using different extraction technologies. So in terms of the extraction technology, we apply different extraction technologies such as acylated solvent extraction. In that, we also optimize the conditions to maximize the extraction yield and without degrading the compounds. So here we found that with the different microalgae, there is a demand or degree of pretreatment is different, as well as different microalgae demand optimum extraction conditions in terms of the different variation in the temperature or kind of the pressure and so on. Because these both microalgae having different compounds and as well as have different cell wall structure that need to be pre-treated before the extraction, so we can achieve the complete recovery of the compounds from the algal biomass. So here you can see that after this is a colorful biomass, very green, and after the pre-treatment, we extract at the optimum condition using the acylated solvent extraction unit. And we found that the biomass turned into light colors. So most of the compounds was extracted, and these are the extracts. So you can see that in the first extract, most of the compounds was extracted, while in the second one, there is a less color. So it's indicating that the first extract having more compounds as compared to the second one. Then further we quantify the extract using ultra SPLC, GC mass, and also we gravitationally analyze the quantity of the extract, how much quantity we get from the biomass. So therefore, we have planned different experimental approach to use different carbon dioxide concentrations, that our aim to mitigate the carbon dioxide from the environment and to produce algal biomass that having different high valued compounds. So we have worked with the 3 different concentration of carbon dioxide and with the control as well. So we found that increasing carbon dioxide could be useful for to attain higher biomass productivity. Also, we compare with the large scale to small scale cultivation system, and we found that there could be a possibility to upscale the process without hampering the biomass productivity and so on. So in this case, we use the different conditions that is mentioned here, and then we cultivate the microalgae in the different photobioreactor as I have showed you earlier. So here we found that the increasing carbon dioxide is improve the biomass production, while is also reduce the cultivation time. So here we can see with the 0.5% of the carbon dioxide, the growth was continued up to 18 days. Or then while using the 3%, the growth was stopped. We achieved the maximum stationary phase in the day 12. While with the 1.5%, it was reached up to day 15. So it's indicating that higher carbon dioxide concentration lead to increase the biomass production in the shorter time. While when we was comparing the results with the large scale, the same trend was observed. But in this case, the biomass productivity was lower as compared to the small scale. So it means that the small scale versus large scale system having different volume to surface ratio, and in the large cultivation system, there is a different shear force on the microalgae, there is a pressure of the medium and so on. So that may inhibit the process. While in the large cultivation system, the self-setting, there is a big issue to avoid that, to supply the proper light to each and every cells of the microalgae. So these are the key challenges that we are still working to overcome these challenges. But while we also harvested the biomass, and we found that with the 3% of the carbon dioxide concentration, we attained higher biomass productivity, as well as the increasing carbon dioxide trend to increase in the biomass productivity, and same trend was also observed with the large scale cultivation system. However, there was a huge difference in the biomass productivity as compared to small scale to large scale cultivation system. That could be lead to, as I mentioned earlier, that due to the shear force in the photobioreactor and also the self-setting due to the cells. So after that, during the nutrient recycling approach, we harvest the biomass and using the membrane technology, and then we further analyze the filtrate to see the nutrient availability to recycle the growth medium for different growth. So here we found that increasing carbon dioxide also improved the nutrient uptake in the microalgae cells, while we found that same trend was also found in the large scale cultivation system. But in the large scale cultivation system, the most of the nutrients was not consumed, as that could be lead to that there is no photosynthetic activity in the system due to the light inhibition or like light shedding in the cells. And also the algal cells are with the different force, different stress, like due to the force on the cells, that also inhibit the consumption of the nutrients in the process. So that we are working to overcome these challenges in the coming our research. But further on, after that, after the harvesting of the biomass, we extract the compound, and we also found that the extraction yield and the lutein yield was also had significant influence with the increasing carbon dioxide concentration. And we found that 3% of the carbon dioxide concentration could be a optimum condition to improve the extraction yield as well as the lutein content. So interestingly, here we found that here is a lutein content as well as an extraction yield is higher with the large scale cultivation system. That led that in the microalgae under the stress conditions are able to produce high amount of the bioactive compounds. So this is significant result that we found that with the high stress condition due to could be lead to the shear force or with the large volume, the microalgae able to produce high amount of lutein as compared to a small scale cultivation system. But as we found that in small scale cultivation system, there is in higher amount of the biomass, but it not make sense that high biomass should always have high bioactive compounds. Here we can see that large scale cultivation system having higher bioactive compound and compared to small scale cultivation system. So further, we also tested that water recycling approach, and we found that there is we can recycle the growth medium for the different growth of microalgae. So in this case, we also found that increasing carbon dioxide concentration improve the biomass productivity in the shorter time, while its same trend was also with the nutrient recycling. But here we can see that with a 3% of carbon dioxide, we achieve the maximum 2 gram per liter of the biomass in the 5 days, while in the fresh growth medium, the growth was prolonged up to 11 days. So it indicating that with the water recycling approach, we also can reduce the cultivation time, but there will be lower biomass productivity. Here we can see that we found here around 3.8 gram of biomass per liter in the day 10, while with the nutrient recycling approach, we found that in the day 5, we can achieve more than 2%, 2 gram per liter of the biomass. So it's indicating that we also reduce the time up to 50%, while it's also the biomass productivity is also decreased by 50%. So it's correlated with the cultivation phase that in the shorter time, we can produce the significant amount of biomass using the recycled growth medium for the growth of microalgae. And same also we extracted it here. Here we access the biomass productivity. And in this case, we found that net biomass productivity was very high with the fresh growth medium as well compared to recycled growth medium. So in the recycled growth medium, there is a less availability of the nutrients that lead to the lower biomass productivity. It was expected as. And also here we can see that in the nutrient consumption efficiency was slightly lower in a nutrient recycling media as compared to the fresh growth medium. And this is the results for the extraction yield as well as for lutein content. So here we found that there is not huge difference in the terms of biomass, extraction yield as well as, but while if we see with the 3%, there is around up to 50% increase with the fresh growth medium as compared to recycled growth medium. So it's indicating that these microalgal biomass producing here significant amount of other compounds that are not our interest, but they are producing, like maybe there could be a significant increase in fatty acids, but there is a decrease in lutein content. That was our interest compound for the growth of microalgae. So further on in the next step, as I mentioned, that we also working on Hematococcus pulvilis for improve the astaxanthin production, and we grow the Hematococcus pulvilis. That Hematococcus pulvilis strain is a green microalgae, but it's grow in different growth phase. That is a green phase and in the red phase. So in the normal growth phase, it's grow always like a green cell. But when we give the different kind of the stress, that could be lead to the nutrient stress or due to the light stress, temperature stress, the cells become red and accumulate high amount of the astaxanthin that having high market demand in the nutraceutical and pharmaceutical sectors. So in this case, we use different intensity of the blue light, that is with the high light intensity of the blue light as well as a lower light intensity. So firstly, we grow the green phase in the ambient using the ambient air with the white light 100% with the light intensity of 4000 lux on the surface of photobioreactor. But for the red phase induction, we use different stress, that is a blue light. We use the blue light with a different light intensity. So here we found that with the increasing light stress, there is a absorbance in the red spectra is increasing. Here we can see, but while the chlorophyll absorbance is decreasing with the growth time. So it's indicating that during the stress conditions, the microalgae are not able to do the photosynthesis efficiently, but in the same time, they are protecting to the cells and they are accumulating efficient amount of the astaxanthin, that is our desired compound. So here we can see that the compound or the absorbance in the red spectra is increasing with the high stress, while in the low stress conditions with the 500 lux on the surface of photobioreactor, we found that the absorbance in the red spectrum is lower as compared to high stress conditions. So further on, based on this evidence, we further extract the compounds and also evaluate the nutrient consumption efficiency during the growth of microalgae Hematococcus pulvilis with the different light intensities in the stress phase. So here we also found that with the high light intensity, with the high stress conditions, Hematococcus pulvilis can consume most of the compound or nutrients, while with the less stress conditions, the nutrient consumption efficiency is very low as compared to the high light stress. So it's leading or indicating that in the high stress conditions, the cells are trying to survive, and also they are, for survival, they are consuming high nutrients. And further we evaluate the extraction yield of different compounds, that is astaxanthin, carotenoids and fatty acids. And we interestingly found here, as we found in earlier here, that with the high light stress, microalgae are consuming most of the compounds in efficient way. But same way here we also found that they are also producing high amount of the compounds that was our interest. So we found with that the Hematococcus pulvilis with the high light intensity can produce significant, slightly very high amount of the astaxanthin as compared to low light stress, as well as also produce significant amount of lutein and carotene, while there is also huge improvement in the fatty acids. So it's indicating that the Hematococcus pulvilis can produce high amount of the bioactive compounds with the high stress conditions as compared to lower stress. So here these results also evident with the microscopic analysis. So these pictures are coming on the day 0, and here we can see these pictures on the day 7 and day 14, that we can see here with the high light stress, most of the cells accumulated pigments and that cells are turned into red cells. But with the less light stress conditions, there are less cells surviving, and also they are in the early phase, they are similar, and also like at the day 14, there is no huge change in the cells in the terms of the red cells transformation in the red phase. So it's indicating the cell growth and also accumulation of the bioactive compounds in the Hematococcus pulvilis. So further on going, this was a approach for the microalgae cultivation, but we also applying different extraction technology to use the carbon dioxide as a solvent to extract the compounds from the algal biomass. That also lead to minimize the carbon footprint. So in this case, we are using different kind of the carbon dioxide, like different kind of the microalgae biomass, and we are using the carbon dioxide as a solvent for extraction in the under supercritical fluid extraction process. So in that case, we use the bench scale extraction plant or the unit, and then here we optimize the conditions to achieve the maximum extraction yield of the compound from the microalgae. Then we quantify the compounds, and after that we validate the bench scale results at pilot scale using the supercritical fluid extraction pilot plant that was located in our research center. So in that case, in the bench scale optimization, we are optimizing different pretreatment conditions, that as I mentioned, that different microalgae having different cell wall structure and that need optimum degree of pretreatment to maximize the yield of extraction as well as recovery of the compounds with the high purity. And then we also optimize the different carbon dioxide flow rate, pressure, temperature, and biomass loading during the bench scale optimization. So in the bench scale optimization, we use 3 different microalgae, and this was a part of the European project that was a ValueMag project that also available on the internet. If you go through the ValueMag, search on ValueMag with the internet, there will be information available on this. So in this project, we use 3 different microalgae, that is Dunaliella salina, Haematococcus pulvilis, red phase, and Nanochloropsis graditana. So Dunaliella salina was used to extract the beta carotene, while Haematococcus pulvilis was used to extract the astaxanthin, and Nanochloropsis was used to extract the omega fatty acids, that having different nutraceutical applications. So in this case, we optimize the pretreatment conditions firstly with the using the ball mailer, and we found that during the pretreatment conditions, it's very important to maximize to attain the maximum recovery of the compounds. So there is a pretreatment time is very important, as well as also the pretreatment degree of pretreatment in terms of temperature, also rotation speed, that is very important during the pretreatment step. While during the supercritical fluid extraction process, we also optimize the condition, as I mentioned, that temperature, pressure, CO2 flow rate, and biomass loading. So these optimum conditions need to be always optimized at the bench scale, then need to be validated at large scale for the industrial implementation of the process. So in this case, we found that with the different optimum conditions, the colorful biomass turned into very light colors, and we extract most of the compound in the extract. Here you can see that in this case, we only use the carbon dioxide as a solvent. So after the extraction, this carbon dioxide was recycled in the loop of the extraction. So we are not leaving the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but we are recycling because it can be reused for the extraction. So we collect the extract here, and in the same time, we recycle the carbon dioxide to extract again with the different metrics or biomass. So further, then we quantify the extract, and we found that with the optimum conditions, all microalgae having different optimum conditions in terms of the temperature requirement, carbon dioxide flow rate, and pressure, as well as biomass loading. So here I am not going into details with the results that which was the optimum condition for individual microalgae. That you can also found this information in our published records, publications. So here just I am showing the picture that with the optimum conditions, these were the optimum conditions, and we found the maximum extract was collected in the first cycle, and these are for different optimum conditions for the individual microalgae. So here we found that for the Dunaliella salina, the 65-degree temperature and with the 400 bar with the CO2 flow rate of 14.48 gram was more suitable to extract the compounds, and this was the biomass turned into light colors. While in the Haematococcus pulmonalis for astaxanthin recovery, the temperature and pressure was similar as compared to these conditions for Dunaliella, but the flow rate was very different as compared to Dunaliella salina. So in this case, the lower flow rate was suitable to extract these compounds astaxanthin, because these compounds having different polarity, and that polarity need to be targeted, or also in the carbon dye supercritical process, we tune the quality of the solvent under tuning the temperature or pressure or the flow rate, so that this algal biomass solubilize with the carbon dioxide and extract the desired compound as per the polarity of the compound as well as with the solvent. While in the case of chlorosis, we found that the temperature was 65 degrees, but the lower pressure was suitable at high flow rate of the carbon dioxide. So that extracts are very pure. They're not having any type of organic solvents, and therefore the carbon dioxide supercritical process is very useful for industrial application in nutraceutical, especially that we just achieve this pure extract, and then we can use this extract directly in the formulation of the nutraceutical products or functional food and so on. After that, we also validated these bench scale results at pilot scale. That pilot plant was available in our research center, and this is a high view pilot plant. And then this is an extraction vessel with the cap. So here the extract is extraction process carried out, and this is the extraction wall. So here we collect the extract at the large scale. So we also implementing the things at bench scale to land scale and large scale, so for industrial implementation of the process. So most of our results are also now published and also the implemented at the industrial scale. So here I maybe if I can play the video, you can see that this is we are collecting the extract from the pilot plant, and here you can see that we are collecting this extract, and after the few time there will be the CO2 will be disappear. But in this case, we are just for the picture, we are not able to recycle because to show this video. So this was a type of the process that we collect the extract and then we use this extract for different purpose. So after that, the extraction at pilot scale, we use these extract for different to access the antimicrobial activity for different applications. So especially we use different microalgae strains that was grown in our group, and these strains was as per our interest, because these microalgae able to grow in the harsh condition as well as accumulate high amount of bioactive compounds that having different application in different sectors. So firstly, we extract the compounds and then we collect the extract at the optimum conditions and then quantify the availability of the bioactive compound in the extract. Later on, we test in vitro for antimicrobial activity of 6 microalgal strains that we was tested here. And in this case, we also then further this in vitro, based on the in vitro results, we tested in vivo, and we found that among the 6 microalgae strains, some of the algal biomass having high amount of bioactive compound that can be used for different purpose. So in that case, we found that the Dunaliella salina was having high bioactive compound and that able to protect the plants from different pathogenic disease. So in that case, we use the tomato plant and tested that the tomato plant, if we use this kind of the formulation or the green pesticide to protect the plants, we can protect using the extract coming from Dunaliella salina. Also further, we tested on the tomato and also on zucchini, and we found that after the treatment with the optimum concentration of the extract, we can protect the zucchini or tomato with the infection. So here we have used different kind of the extract having the concentration of 0.5 gram per liter and 10 gram per liter, and this was a control. So after the 48 hours of the cause of the infections, the zucchini was degraded in the control, but where we used a higher concentration of Dunaliella extract, that is 10 gram per liter, the zucchini look like fresh after 48 hours. So it's indicating that this extract having antimicrobial compounds that can kill the bacteria and they keep the vegetables fresh. But with the 5% here, you can see that there is a infection started, and then it can lead to degrade in the coming next hours. But with the optimum concentration, the zucchini look like even fresh and it can prolong for longer time. So here I would like to give some concluding remark of our research, that with the large scale and small scale cultivation system, we found that the small scale cultivation system supporting high biomass production as well as high nutrient consumption efficiency, while the large scale cultivation system showed high extraction efficiency as well as enhanced lutein production from the Sandesmus elmaricis. As I have showed or mentioned earlier, that due to in a large cultivation system, there is a different type of the stress on the cells. So that lead to improve the accumulation of the compound in the algal cells. While with the nutrient recycling approach, we found that there is a growth was inhibited for the nutrient recycling, and which resulted in the lower nutrient consumption efficiency as well as lutein productivity. While for Haematococcus pulmonaris, we found that high stress conditions, that is a blue light with the 2500 loops on the surface of photobioreactor, that improving the astaxanthin and other bioactive compound productivity from the Haematococcus pulmonaris. While the supercritical fluid extraction technology resulted us with the extract with a high purity, as well as the extract was carried out without using any organic solvents. So it means that the extract can be directly used in a different application in the different sectors. So, and finally, with the antimicrobial activity, we found that the extract among the 6 microalgae strains, Dunaliella salina, was more potential to protect the plants or fruits or vegetables from the different microbial contaminations. So also I would like to share with you like our recently edited book that is now online. So if anyone interested in this book, I can share the table of content, and if you would like to go through some chapters especially, then I can share some chapters, but not a whole book. It's due to the policies, and this is the second volume of this book. So the both volumes are online now. And also I would like to thanks to everyone audience for their participation in this wonderful event, and as well as I would like to have your feedback, and if anyone audience want to discuss in further, they can go through my website or like email, they can directly email me, or also if they type my name on, like I can send the link in the chat box, so they can copy the link and keep for their further use, and then they can communicate with me in the coming days if they have any queries, or they want to have establish some collaboration in near future, or any students from your organization want to be going for abroad for a different research purpose or for exchange program, they can also discuss with me the possibilities, because I have completed my research like PhD from abroad, and I am like from last 7 to 8 years I'm in abroad. So might be I will try to help the students from your college. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for your excellent presentation. Dear participants, post your queries in the chat box or unmute your mic, ask directly to the resource person. questions. The roots of all goodness lie in the soil of appreciation. Now I invite Dr. Mary Shanti, Assistant Professor of Botany, to propose the vote of thanks.
Education is the kindling of flame, not the filling of a vessel, says Socrates. Today, we had a very good session shared with Dr. Maharia with different exposure on the topics of this microalgae, that is carbon dioxide emission, an appeal for green technology, and carbon dioxide fixed to value-added products, why microalgae have been chosen in this area, and carbon dioxide fixed, how carbon dioxide can be fixed from atmosphere, and then experimental works with various microalgae. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for being a part of our webinar. Your presence not only enriched our event, but also left everyone impressed with your experimental works. I strongly believe that your talk left a huge impact on participants to choose such research areas. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presentation over here. Thank you.
So thank you very much. And I think there is no questions from the audience. So I think they all understand my presentation. And but anyways, I have dropped my link of my website, so they can go through, and there is my email address and contact information are available there. So then they can connect me later if they want.
Yes, participants will contact you or if you are in need of any help from your side. So definitely they will contact you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Shanti?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, let's listen to the participants' feedback. In the meantime, Dr. Nambi will be joining us.
Dear participants, share your feedback regarding this international webinar. Dear participants, share your feedback regarding this international webinar.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Hello.
Hello. This is Dr. Vad. I teach biotechnology. I'm assistant professor biotechnology in GMT Higher Education Department, and I have been attending this seminar for 2 days. And the sessions, they were well organized, and the keynote speaker, he gave a detailed presentation. Then it was well organized, and it was one of the good issues that we need to educate ourselves and take this forward to the students. I congratulate the Department of Botany, SMC College, for holding such a good workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Participants, you can present your feedback orally.
Hello, dear professor, research scholars, PG students. A very good evening to all of you. Myself, Noman Bashir, MSc Botany from Department of Biology and Environmental Sciences, Allama Iqbal Open University, Islamabad, Pakistan. First of all, thanks to all the organizing committee and the whole team who gave me the opportunity to say something. I am heartily congratulate and thankful to St. Marian Star Center Postgraduate and Research Department of Botany, Tamil Nadu, India, to organize such a 2 days international webinar on climate change and future challenges and inviting such a great eminent personality to deliver speak on very important and knowledgeable topic in each session. All the resource person try to teach a lot in a very short time in a very efficient and easy way. The method of each speaker is a great place in itself. The content and resource person make this webinar successful and precious for all of us. I learned a lot from this workshop at that time. This program is very efficient and helpful for researchers, students, and environmentalists from basic to advanced level. I sincerely thanks to patron Professor Sri Flora Mary, chairman of this workshop, Dr. A.S.J. Lucia Rose, convener Dr. M. Glory, program coordinator Dr. A.J. L. Pons, the organizing team of this webinar, and the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, New Delhi, India, for giving me the opportunity to participate in this workshop. I sincerely thanks all the organizers and the entire team again and hope that they will continue to organize such a program in the future, which will continue to guide the students and researchers at different times. And at least I request to all the respected speakers, please share your PPTs that everyone can get benefit from your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bashar, for your wonderful feedback. Really, we are delighted to hear your wonderful feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dear participants, kindly stay connected until our resource person gets joined. So further to go ahead with the valid.
Participants, please be connected or stay in the platform. Just wait for a few minutes.
Shanti?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Dana ma'am, shall we proceed ahead?
Yes, yes, yes.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Should I start?
Coming to the
You may proceed.
Coming to the Lord, whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. A warm good evening to the August gathering, virtually connected across the nation on the validity function. The prayer is the nearest approach to God, says William Law. Let us invoke the blessings of the Lord Almighty through this prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Dear participants, kindly turn on the video for the group photo with resource person. Dear participants, kindly turn on the video for the group photo with resource person.
Dynamo, we should proceed now.
Hello.
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Hermali, Assistant Professor of Botany, St. Mary's College Autonomous Thoothukudi, to greet everyone and introduce the resource person, Dr. Nambi Appadurai.
Respected resource person, Dr. Nambi Appadurai, Reverend Principal, Dr. Sister Lucia Rose, Reverend Sister Secretary, and Reverend Sisters and HODs, faculties, and dear participants. Good evening, one and all connected through this virtual platform. At the outset, I would like to welcome and introduce our resource person, Dr. Nambi Appadurai, Director of the Climate Resilience Practice of World Resource Institute, India. On the behalf of the management and faculties of Botany Department, extend a warm welcome to you, sir. At this junction, this is my honor to introduce this academic caliber of research contribution. He is the director of the Climate Resilience Practice of World Resource Institute, India. He has 20 years of experience in the development sector. His overarching research interest in the field of climate risk management, adaptation, environmental policy, institutional development, and governance. Dr. Nambi Appadurai has a wide range of research and project management experience at the national, subnational, and international levels. Most of his research work is focused on community-based adaptation to climate change in the Asian and African context. His international career includes stint with the World Bank, the Consultative Group of International Agricultural Research and United Nations Environmental Program, and Asian Development Bank and MS Swaminathan Research Foundation. In the past, Dr. Nambi Appadurai served as a member of the Indian delegation of UNFCCC Conference of Parties, negotiation meetings, and participated as an expert member of several scientific committees constituted by various ministries of Government of India and the state governments. He has published widely on development and environmental issues and won several awards in the field of social research and environment. He served as a coordinating lead author of the Hindu-Kush Himalayan Monitoring and Assessment Report and a reviewer for the IPCC reports. He was a member of the selection committee of Fulbright Fellowships and a fellow of the Cambridge Commonwealth Trust. Indeed, we are fortunate to hear you lecturer on International Webinar on Climate Change and Future Challenges. Once again, I extend a cordial welcome to you, sir. This is my great honor to welcome our beloved principal, Dr. Sister Lucia Rose, whose stewardship led this institution to the higher altitude of what it is today. I extend my joyous welcome to our secretary, Reverend Sister Flora Mary, for her all-time support in her academic endeavor. My special warm welcome are due to our Deputy Principal, Dr. Sister Kolantitharas, and Director, Self-Supporting Course, Dr. Sister Josephine Jairani. My hearty welcome to Dr. Sisters Alfonso Genesius Alphonse, RK Genesius Alphonse, Overall Coordinator and Member Secretary of DPT Star College Scheme, New Delhi. I also welcome our dear HODs, Deans, Controller of Examination, faculties, and all my dear participants. Welcome one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Hermalin, for your kind words. I invite Dr. Nambi Appadurai, Director of Climate Resilience Practice at World Resources Institute in India, to deliver the valedictory address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I consider this a huge honor to be part of this August gathering today. I'm extremely sorry. My apologies for keeping you waiting. But there was a mishap in the family, and I had to commute about 400 miles up and down to be here now. So kindly excuse me for the delay. Let me start with this thing. For the past 2 days, we've been listening to so many things, from the science aspect to the implementation aspect to the social aspects of climate change. It's a very vast area. It's a very complex kind of subject. I don't want to kind of really go into the nitty-gritties of these things, because you would have heard enough of it, and I don't have a PowerPoint presentation as well. This being a valedictory address, I would rather stick to a summary of the my own take on this and where the world stands and where we are going from here. That's far more important. More importantly, I never say no to when somebody approaches from a college or schools. That is where if we could make a difference, that's where we could make a difference. So it's important that knowledge is imparted and it is delivered in a way that people could relate to. And that's so much of pride in talking to you guys, certainly, because particularly the student community has a huge responsibility looking at the future of this globe. And so it is important. In that context, as I mentioned, climate change is a very huge topic. I don't know where to start with. I know for the past 2 days, you would have got an overdose of information and knowledge. So it takes some time for you to assimilate those things and absorb and assimilate these things. It should, and it is a very topical area, as that every day in and day out we get to hear something or other being said about climate change. We personally witnessed. Being a citizen of Chennai, for the past 5-6 years, it's a very turbulent kind of a weather you face. What is happening is the intensity and the frequency of the monsoon events are happening at a level which is unprecedented. Take, for example, the 2015 floods or 2021 floods. It's very unprecedented. So how do we cope with this? This is a constant question. And also talking about climate change being such a very complex subject. Why do I say it's a complex subject? Because it is a political dimension, it's a scientific dimension, it's a social dimension, it's an economic dimension. Each worth is as a lecture. I might go on and on into this. It's such a complex kind of an issue. Even the science is not very clear. Whatever we have kind of understood nature is, we've just scratched the surface, not really gone in depth. Of course, science is also advancing. And, initially we could only get a resolution of 250 by 250 grid size to understand the Earth. But today we've gone into the level of 10 by 10 kilometers. We could have that kind of a resolution to understand what's happening within that space. So science is more very unequivocal today. Science is very clear. It is happening. It's here to stay. Climate change is here to stay. So with that premise, we need to also think how we adapt. There are two important issues when you talk about climate change. One is the response options. One is the mitigation. Another one is the adaptation. Mitigation is something to do with the control of the GHG emissions. How we kind of manage the emissions. And of course, you would have learned a lot about what GHG emissions and their own impacts on different ways. So that is a question of when you talk about the politics, it is the battle between the haves and have-nots, the poor and the rich, the developed and the undeveloped countries, or developing countries. So the poor are the most vulnerable. Wherever you see, these are the people who are hit. Even in a city space, you see who are the people who live in the coastal areas mostly, apart from the resorts and the high-end. I'm not talking about the high-end settlements, but the poor and the poor people are the most suffered people. They take the brunt of this whole thing. So it is a important thing to understand the vulnerabilities of the poor, who, in what way, how they are impacted. The science also provides us some information about it, but so we need to there's a real fact that we have to adapt to. We cannot really completely stop climate change. We've been for the past 20 years, the world has been, the international community been fighting on this. Thank God in 2015 we came out with settlement. There is a Paris in the shape of a Paris Accord, but then it is not a perfect accord. There is when you talk about in international negotiations, I was part of this, so I could get a clear, good peek of it, in terms of how this operates. And so it is a lots of compromises one makes. Somewhere we have to come together to get an understanding and keep the ball rolling. That's becoming an important kind of thing. So after post 2015, there are lots of things happening in bits and pieces, not in a very coherent way. The IPCC is one of you would have heard about IPCC as well. So IPCC is the scientific body, the apex scientific body, which provides this kind of information to the policymakers, to the communities, and design. Every 4 years we come out with this report, and it even recently, just this week, as we speak, this week was the Working Group 2 report was released. That is more about the adaptation. I told you about the two response options. One is about the mitigation aspect of it, which the world community have to come together to get an understanding of to level we have to reduce the emissions. So that's some level of agreement on that. But then, given the fact that it is happening and we have to adapt ourselves, so there's no two notions about it. We need to adapt to we have to face the challenge. We have to adapt. So it is, again, adaptation is nothing very new. From time immemorial, man is adaptation. Even agriculture is an adaptation from wild cultivars and other things, as you know. So adaptation, man is, but the problem, your farmers are also very smart across the globe. Internationally, farmers are very, very smart people. They could, but the problem is, it is happening at a pace that they could not cope up with. Their own strategies are not working. So what do we do with that? That is where science comes in. There's informed science. Again, it is not science alone can't deliver. It is also important to respect the local knowledge and the kind of a repository of information they have, which is time tested over a period of time. So we need to take into account and build something which is really, bring science and local science together, citizen science. There should be a marriage between these two things to kind of come out with good solutions. So I think, from the scientific perspective, lots of advancement, from the geotechnical kind of interventions, like using mirrors in the big mirrors in the space to reflect the lights, and so that there's not much of light is penetrating to the earth. So there are different kinds of science fiction kind of oriented solutions are also there. But people have been testing, many scientists across the world are working. But then there are, at the same time, the knowledge which the small farmer holds is very important, because, climate change is impacting people in different ways. Men are impacted different ways, and each community has been impacted differently. So one has to take all this into account and understand the right entry points, to kind of design solutions. So that's why the people's knowledge is very important when you design. We can't really completely come out with the alienated solutions and completely ask them to change overnight, which is not going to happen. People have certain cultural factors are also involved. The social factors are involved. There are social norms which we have to respect. So that is where the challenge is. So science is helping, in terms of, particularly when you talk about agriculture. You see, science is very handy coming out. Biotechnology particularly is helping out to come out with, some drought-tolerant crops or, pest-tolerant varieties. Today we have that science is advanced in that sense. So because for a country like India, it's a double-edged sword. We have about 7,000 kilometers of coastal area what we have here, and anything in the sea level rise is one of the important components of climate change. Which you will see impacting us. We have seen that impacting us in a big way. And moreover, we have about more than 1.3 billion mouths to feed. So where do we go? We have to generate that. Food security becomes a very crucial kind of a issue for us. So science has to really advance. At one end, we have to really battle the climate change, because lots of uncertainties involved in climate change. So it is not, we can put a finger and say that this is how it's going to be. Nature is very difficult to understand. And so, as they say, the only certain thing about climate change is uncertainty. So as the saying goes, so I think we have to prepare ourselves to meet this challenge. At the same time, at the other level, there are lots of efforts going on to reduce the emissions so that, the 1.5 degree or 2 degree centigrade, the thresholds, what the scientists have defined, is not breached. Beyond that, there's a point of no return. That is why the scientific community is so worried today. So I think on the whole, it is important at every level. We have certain responsibilities, at the government level, the right policies, the right priorities have to be put in place at the individual level, at the community level. Because people who are locally there are living in the proximities with where things happen. So people sitting in the ivory tower cannot kind of design policies for people, at the local level. So it is important somewhere the bottom up and the top-down approach meets together. That is where the policy and the knowledge, from the local level meets. So it is important to have a good grasp of these things and be observant, particularly because the changes are plenty. We can't just say it's affecting only one sector. In agriculture, biodiversity, I'm sure you would have learned about a lot of things and how biodiversity is being impacted. Particularly the birds, their reproduction cycles are changing. They're so confused because autumn is arriving earlier than what they predicted. So they are not designed that way. So there are lots of signals which are coming out, which is not the usual ones. So we have to learn to live with the new norms. New normals are going to be there, and that is no compromise on that. But to the extent possible, how you kind of manage the situation, how do you kind of understand the risks and kind of be prepared to face those risks in ways that we could with the kind of resources what we have. So one of the important things is vulnerability is an important thing. You have time and again would have heard about it. People are impacted, ecosystems have impacted. It has both dimensions. One of the physical systems are impacted in big ways, and again, the social systems are also impacted in many ways. So how do you why do the rich countries are managing it better? Because they have the adaptive capacity. Adaptive capacity is a function of many things. The capacities and the knowledge base, the finance, what they have, the technological inputs, what they have, and above all, the social capital, which we have plenty in our country. This is amazing. That's one thing I'm very positive, and I've been very optimistic about these countries. One, about the science part of it. Secondly, the people power. I've personally myself witnessed post-tsunami in 2004. People from nowhere, from everywhere across the country came here to help us. They don't know the language. They simply came with a backpack and to kind of with a good helping tendency. That's what the social capital is all about. And they stayed here, they worked together. There is enormous resources available. Even in 2015 Chennai floods, people organized themselves in better ways. So we need to focus a lot of energy in terms of particularly youth. You have the technology at your hand, and you're all innovative in many ways. So that is where you have to invest your energy, be observant of the changes, what's happening around you. That's one of the first kind of uptake you should have. Basically be observant. What kind of change is happening in your surroundings, and how do you kind of network with agencies which are working. There's a lot today. There are youth's involvement in many ways. They are far ahead in terms of knowledge, and the use of social media is another important thing. So there are good resources available, and be innovative about it. The kind of technology what you use also, and also be from the conservation point of view, that notion has to be inculcated in a way that because otherwise we'll go high and dry. We'll leave the future generation without anything to kind of really work with. So it is important to realize that that's all the notion of sustainable development is all about. It is not just about our future. We can't be too selfish about it. Man is born selfish, but to the extent possible, conservation becomes a very important, be it energy or water or whatever it is. But there's no better country than India to kind of really, when you look back, our ancestors and the people who manage the resources so well. That's why we could sit pretty well today and enjoy those benefits. So there's a huge responsibility for us to pass on these benefits to the future generation. So I think the message is loud and clear. I don't really want to dwell deeper into this. Probably would have got the better knowledge about all these things talked in different sessions, I'm sure. But then there are ways you could help the government. Also, we cannot completely depend on government because only so much they could do. That is another thing. It's our own responsibility in some ways. The schools have responsibilities, and this has to be taught as a curriculum. Climate change, certainly it is important because we are going to adapt to these circumstances and try learning to live with climate change. That's the way the world is moving. And there is no one solution for this. Of course, technology is also improving. So I'll put it this way: as science advances, the people who have been interested in science should really pursue this path, because there are umpteen number of opportunities within climate change. Now the green energy stuff, is coming in a big way, be solar, wind or something. Green energy is a big boom today across the globe. So put your efforts on that, try to learn something out of it. I mean, there are many ways you could get involved, right from monitoring your own electricity bills, and trying to communicate to the parents. And I'm talking about the little kids, not people of this level, but still, those are some way where you have to start. That's the starting point for us. So the entry points are different for different people, and we have to muster our energy, muster our strength, use our wisdom to kind of contribute to these processes in different ways. Somebody could be good at technology, they should go and develop certain things, which is very futuristic and which is more sustainable in the long run. And people have been working in water sector. There are umpteen number of even social, for that matter, social sector is an important. There are lots of social and entrepreneurship coming up today, and there are several opportunities. And we have to leverage that in many ways. First of all, be vigilant of what's happening, to understand your own vulnerabilities, and to kind of inform people at the helm of affairs, so that they could help us in some way or other. So that knowledge is very important. And also, there are lots of maladaptation today. That is also, we have to be cognizant of that fact as well. For example, constructing a seawall, it is not a solution. It might be working on Western countries, not for India, because our fishermen are culturally tied. There are certain ways they understand the sea and the oceans. So we have to respect that knowledge, respect those cultural norms. So that's the reason if you build a seahall, post-tsunami, all these things happen. Lots of talk about buildings, copying this kind of the technologies which has been promoted in the West. It is not a good fit for us, because our fishermen don't go with trawlers. They have the fishing boats, small boats. So they park there. Their livelihood is so intricately linked with nature. So that is not a solution. That's what I mean by maladaptation. So we cannot promote solutions which are completely extraneous to our lives. No, it is something which has been imbibed and which is usable, and which could be practiced, and which is also kind of accessible for people. So this is one part of the story. And climate finance is another huge thing. I won't take a couple of minutes, and I don't want to bore you with these things, but still, it's a kind of, I'm giving a bird's eye view. That's also important. So for climate finance is an important thing. One of the biggest puzzle in the negotiations about climate finance. Even today, it has not been solved. $100 billion the community, the developed countries committed to in the Paris Accord, but they have not delivered it. There are various reasons, of course. Again, now COVID is shown as an excuse. So there are various reasons, but we have to be in a position to generate our own resources, and also access to finance is also a very complicated process. There are several multilateral, bilateral, multilateral instruments available today, but it is not very cumbersome to kind of access them. So the capacities have to be developed for the people working in the government, particularly, to understand those processes, to kind of leverage those funds. And at the local level, again, Panchayat's fund should be really very wisely used. And I would rather reiterate that we have a very limited resources that has to be used wisely. So youth in the panchayats, working at the local governments or urban bodies, they have to come forward to advise the policymakers. It is a tough challenge. It's not easy, but nevertheless, we should not lose hope. I'm one, we believe in hope. We had whatever said about green revolution in 1960s. We've been living with a ship-to-mouth living. We've been so much dependent on the external resources, but we became self-sufficient in food. That is a great example. And of course, there are some downside of it, and people talk about it a lot. But for that intervention at that point in time, India would have become Somalia, Sudan, God knows where we would have gone. So I think it is important to muster your energy, strength, the scientific knowledge, your role you're placing in the society, and try to, whenever you find time, talk to the kids. That's also important. Not our own kids, when even school kids. These are important steps one could take so that we could see a more greener path moving ahead. I'll stop here. It is again, I have to rush all these topics. What I've discussed, it's very difficult to put it in a nutshell. It is all over, but at the same time, it is very important. Since it is more of a valedictory address, I thought I'll just give a larger perspective. So don't forget about the individual responsibilities. There are lots of behavioral aspects also involved in dealing with climate change. So charity begins at home. So it is important for us to be part of this larger movement, which is going across the globe to kind of conquer the space and resurrect nature, which is the only way we could make a living in this world. I'll stop here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your presence. Amidst your critical situation that there was grief in your family, but still you could keep up your promise to address the younger community. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I came to know through Dr. Shanti, you were in a critical stage. Even in that panicking situation, you have come over here and shared your concluding remarks about climate change. Your talk is full of knowledge. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome. It's my privilege to be part of this. Thank you.
Saying thank you is more than good manners. It is good spirituality. I request Dr. Flora, Assistant Professor of Botany, St. Mary's College, Autonomous Thoothukudi, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, Flora.
Gratitude and attitude are not challenges. They are choices. Robert Braith. Dr. Nambi Appathurrai, respected chief guest of this valedictory session, Reverend Sister Flora Mary, our secretary, Reverend Dr. Sister Lucia Rose, our principal, participants of this second day international webinar on climate change and future challenges for 21st century, organized by the Marian Star Center, Department of Botany, St. Mary's College, Thoothukudi. Warm greetings and a very good evening to you all. An event of this magnitude can never be the hard work of a single person. Indeed, there will be many minds involved in the process. Some to think ahead, some to plan, some to do the hard work and execute. I feel much honored to thank all the noble hearts who helped us to conduct this international webinar quite successfully. First of all, my sincere thanks to Almighty God for making this event a grand success. I would like to acknowledge with gratitude the contribution of Dr. Nambi Appathurrai, Director, Climate Resilience Practice, WRA India, for giving an excellent valedictory address on which inciting ours and the policymakers' responsibility in global warming, and gave an overview of impact of scientific knowledge on mitigating global warming too. Thank you so much, sir. I thank our principal, Reverend Dr. Sister Lucia Rose, who leads us by her example. She is always present behind us as a motivating force. She is a taskmaster, but we love her for it, for we know that she pushes us to achieve limits of excellence we thought unattainable. I sincerely thank you, sister, for your encouragement and conduct of this webinar. My sincere thanks are due to our secretary, Reverend Sister Flora Mary, for the rich promotion of academic ambience in our institution. I would like to acknowledge with the gratitude Reverend Dr. Sister Kulandai Teras, Deputy Principal, for her prominent leadership and administering support and encouragement in our endeavors. I thank Dr. Glory, the head of the Department of Botany. She is our leader and pushes us ever forward with her characteristic enthusiasm and energy. Thank you, madam, for all your support and guidance. My sincere thanks are due to Reverend Dr. Sister Aurike Genesius Alphonse, overall coordinator of the Stock College scheme. Your leadership and positive attitude have helped pull us through. I must mention our deep sense appreciation for Dr. Jayasri Venkateshan, Managing Trustee, Care Trust Chennai, who inaugurated and delivered keynote address for this international webinar. Further, we are grateful to Dr. Professor Aswinindini Murango, Executive Dean of Science, Nelson Mandela University, South Africa, for demonstrating the harsh realities of climate change. I would like to express our sincere thanks to Dr. Dinesh Kumar Srivastava, Homi Baba Chair Professor, National Institute of Advanced Studies, Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Campus Bangalore, for giving an excellent coverage to the topic climate change and energy options for sustainable future. I wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Desihan Kumaran, structural biologist, biology department, Brookhaven National Laboratory, Newark, USA, for providing deep knowledge on the topic climate change and food security solution. I am very grateful to Professor Dr. Sanjit Maharia, Department of Chemistry, Linnaeus Weg, Umeå University, Sweden, for his analysis of the topic algal biorefinery, promising approach for minimizing carbon footprint. Participants are all inspired by the deep knowledge of the resource persons on their respective topics. This type of events cannot happen overnight. The wheels start moving about a week ago. It requires planning and bird's eye for details. I have been fortunate to be supported by a team of very active and dedicated staff members from Department of Botany in our institute. I want to thank the people who worked behind the scene to execute this event, our technical arrangement team, especially Ms. Pauline Jennifer. Last but not least, with all sincerity, I thank all the participants for their active and enthusiastic participation. Definitely, I believe this international webinar on climate change and future challenges would have made an impact in participants. Without ignoring and neglecting the serious problems due to climatic change, we all should go hand in hand with the small contribution of each other for presenting better future to our younger generation. Thank you all once again and wish you to stay safe and keep safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flora. Dear participants, feedback link is posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it. Dear participants, feedback link is posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it.
Hello, I especially thank Dr. Flora, Ms. Pauline Jennifer, and Dr. Mary Shanti. And today's event was chaired by Dr. Diana. Wholeheartedly, I thank you all, especially besides all my colleagues. Sir, Arivide Nambi sir, thank you so much.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. The event was so wonderful. Your finishing valedictory address was so proud for us.
Thank you. Thank
A
you.
person of great
I would have done it
repute
better as
giving
well,
valedictory.
but I had to rush. I'm very sorry about it.
Yes, we heard, you know,
I
your
didn't even
panicking
change my
state.
shirt. I just came in and just walked in. That's the
It
kind of.
doesn't matter, sir.
That's
We
fine.
know your panicking difficult situation. In spite of that, you have come over this. So greatly acknowledge your love of or transferring knowledge to the society. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye. If I may move now, is it okay?
Yes, sir. You can leave. You can leave, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.